This is Charlene Burke with Grow Because You Know. Thank you for joining us at Morning Mindset Cafe, where we read a few pages of Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, and then we have a great discussion. We found it to be a terrific way to start the day. I'm glad you're with me. Today we're reading pages 182 to 185 according to the PDF I'm using. But it is also, for those who have a different version of the book, it is the beginning of chapter 11. Let's get started, shall we? The mystery of sex transmutation, the 10th step toward riches. The meaning of the word transmute is, in simple language, the changing or transferring of one element or form of energy into another. The emotion of sex brings into being a state of mind. Because of ignorance on the subject, this state of mind is generally associated with the physical, and because of improper influences to which most people have been subjected, in acquiring knowledge of sex, things essentially physical have highly biased the mind. The emotion of sex has back of it the possibility of three constructive potentialities. They are: 1, the perpetuation of mankind. 2, the maintenance of health. As a therapeutic agency, it has no equal. 3, the transformation of mediocrity into genius through transmutation. Sex transmutation is simple and easily explained. It means the switching of the mind from thoughts of physical expression to thoughts of some other nature. Sex desire is the most powerful of human desires. When driven by this desire, men develop keenness of imagination, courage, willpower, persistence, and creative ability unknown to them at other times. So strong and impelling is the desire for sexual contact that men freely run the risk of life and reputation to indulge it. When harnessed and redirected along other lines, this motivating force maintains all of its attributes of keenness of imagination, courage, etc., which may be used as powerful creative forces in literature, art, or in any other profession or calling, including, of course, the accumulation of riches. The transmutation of sex energy calls for the exercise of willpower, to be sure, but the reward is worth the effort. The desire for sexual expression is inborn and natural. The desire cannot and should not be submerged or eliminated, but it should be given an outlet through forms of expression which enrich the body, mind, and spirit of man. If not given this form of outlet through transmutation, it will seek outlets through purely physical channels. A river may be dammed and its water controlled for a time, but eventually it will force an outlet. The same is true of the emotion of sex. It may be submerged and controlled for a time, but its very nature causes it to be ever seeking means of expression. If it is not transmuted into some creative effort, it will find a less worthy outlet. Fortunate indeed is the person who has discovered how to give sex emotion an outlet through some form of creative effort, for he has, by that discovery, lifted himself to the status of genius. Scientific research has disclosed these significant facts. 1, the men of greatest achievement are men with highly developed sex natures, men who have learned the art of sex transmutation. 2, the men who have accumulated great fortunes and achieved outstanding recognition in literature, art, industry, architecture, and the professions were motivated by the influence of a woman. The research from which these astounding discoveries were made went back through the pages of biography and history for more than 2,000 years. Wherever there was evidence available in connection with the lives of men and women of great achievement, it indicated most convincingly that they possessed highly developed sex natures. The emotion of sex is an irresistible force against which there can be no such opposition as an immovable body. When driven by this emotion, men become gifted with a superpower for action. Understand this truth and you will catch the significance of the statement that sex transmutation will lift one to the status of a genius. The emotion of sex contains the secret of creative ability. Destroy the sex glands, whether in man or beast, and you have removed the major source of action. For proof of this, observe what happens to any animal after it's been castrated. A bull becomes as docile as a cow after it's been altered sexually. Sex alteration takes out of the man, whether man or beast, all the fight that was in him. Sex alteration of the female has the same effect. The 10 mind stimuli. The human mind responds to stimuli through which it may be keyed up to high rates of vibration known as enthusiasm, creative imagination, intense desire, etc. The stimuli to which the mind responds most freely are 1. The desire for sex expression. 2. Love. 3. A burning desire for fame, power, or financial gain, money. 4. Music. 5. Friendship between either those of the same sex or those of the opposite sex. 6. A mastermind alliance based upon the harmony of two or more people who ally themselves for spiritual or temporal advancement. 7. Mutual suffering, such as that experienced by people who are persecuted. 8. Autosuggestion. 9. Fear. 10. Narcotics and alcohol. The desire for sex expression comes at the head of the list of stimuli, which most effectively step up the vibrations of the mind and start the wheels of physical action. 8 of these stimuli are natural and constructive. 2 are destructive. The list is here presented for the purpose of enabling you to make a comparative study of the major sources of mind stimulation. From this study, it will be readily seen that the emotion of sex is, by great odds, the most intense and powerful of all mind stimuli. This comparison is necessary as a foundation for proof of the statement that transmutation of sex energy may lift one to the status of a genius. Let us find out what constitutes a genius. Some wiseacre has said that a genius is a man who wears long hair, eats queer food, lives alone, and serves as a target for the joke makers. A better definition of a genius is a man who has discovered how to increase the vibrations of thought to the point where he can freely communicate with sources of knowledge not available through the ordinary rate of vibration of thought. The person who thinks will want to ask some questions concerning this definition of genius. The first question will be, how may one communicate with sources of knowledge which are not available through the ordinary rate of vibration of thought? The next question will be, are there known sources of knowledge which are available only to genie? And if so, what are these sources? And exactly how may they be reached? We shall offer proof of the soundness of some of the more important statements made in this book, or at least we shall offer evidence through which you may secure your own proof through experimentation, and in doing so, we shall answer both of these questions. All right, that's it. I think we have a lot to study there. Welcome, everybody. Jim, Fabrizio, Robert, Jeremy, Melanie, good to see you. Glad you could join us. A lot to discuss here. Anybody want to jump into the seat or call in? Be happy to let you in. Let's get the discussion started of what we've just read. And yes, thank you, Melanie. Tweet a little bird. Let's let everybody know that we're here having a conversation and discussing Think and Grow Rich. It's chapter 11. Things to think about. We all know that we're sexual beings. And if we're able to harness that energy and focus it, we can do great things. That's what I'm reading out of here. That's what I'm getting. We can harness it, but if we don't focus it, it's going to come out in some way. There will be a physical expression. And it could be negative, it could be positive, but if it's not harnessed at all, we have no say in the results or outcomes of that behavior. At the moment, that's pretty much what I got. Oh. Then, of course, the top 10, what Napoleon Hill says, the top 10 mind stimuli. And that 2 of them are negative and the rest are positive. 8 of them are positive. At the time, Ian, Men or Mankind truly was about men, because Napoleon Hill interviewed 500 successful men. If he, as far as I know, if he interviewed a few women, they're not mentioned. I could do a little research on that. I am transforming it from men to mankind mentally, because I am included in that. So it's a general man being human. Welcome, Sean. Welcome, huh?
Good morning, Charlene.
Good morning. I'm okay.
Okay.
I'm okay. How are you?
I am fine, thank you.
Good.
Okay. So, when I read this book maybe more than a dozen times, and at the first this chapter, I always tumble over it, but now I come to understand, and the line in the movie, as good as it gets. I think that Jack Nicholson said, I want to be a better man. Just because he want to have the relationship with Helen Hunt. Yeah, he said, just because of that. So I think that this chapter is very, very powerful, but a lot of us shy to talking about that. Mm-hmm. Just because, perhaps it's love, but again, that's a sexual attractions that make Nicholson say that to Helen Hunt, that because of you, I want to be a better man. And that is enough said. But, when you read through all this, I keep on smiling because, again, for instance, the story you share about your husband and you. Mm-hmm. See, because of the attraction he has for you, he become a better man. He become more creative.
It goes both ways.
Yes, no, but again, that we talk about, he become more creative. Just like he show up at the restaurant, just like, hey, I'm happy to see you here, and I come to say hello. And then because of that attractions, he will more likely will try to think, or perhaps in his mind, that how he attract the person with your caliber. And just because of that, he pursue that and he again become a genius in some way and creative. And then with a determinations, because that's the girl I want, and I go after it. And then in the same story, for my husband, a very ordinary man, just because of his love for me, he become very courage, a lot of courage to protect me at all costs. And through the year, just because the love for me or the attraction he has for me, he became my rock. He became my, very emotional for me. He became my cheerleader. He became my samurai. So, and again, people can use the sexual desire for a different purpose, and the way they act out can be not normal, but again, to the people I know, to the people I love and the sexual desire make them become a better man.
I can see it in our men, what you described. And what's interesting is I can see it in myself, that it's human nature. We are built with a sex drive and a need to express it physically. It is there. It is, for 99.9999 forevermore percent of the human population, that is that is part of being human. And the other part is, how are we going to express it? And what I like about what you just shared, and I've had that experience with my husband, and I've seen it in other men. I've also seen it in women, because we have that as well. And we struggle just as anybody does, but I'm going to speak from my own experience. The struggle of self-discipline and channeling that energy, that he called it keyed up, that drive, because the physical expression isn't available. It's inappropriate. It's not a good time, right? It is not going to happen. Something has to happen. So I think that when we have the ability to deploy the other principles that we've talked about in this book, from what I'm going through in my mind with my own experiences, is that we're able to channel that into something positive. And as you said, it could be I become a better woman because I want to please him. I want to be worthy of the cheerleading.
Mm-hmm.
That just as he was willing to do what was necessary to become the man that I would be attracted to. So you have that, but you also have all of the, what we call the genius of creativity in musicians and in other arts, in fine arts, and in dance, and in that the other expressions that is a positive way of expressing that level of energy. And what I like is that I'm seeing all that in what I just read, and can translate that one step further to say that can now be focused on the plan to acquire the riches and the wealth. That it's just simply looking at another piece of who I am and what I bring to the table and what I bring to the world, what I'm out here doing. It's just another piece of what can help give me the drive to keep moving forward.
Yeah, in the part of sexual desire, remember, that is the desire, that is the emotions. And then, to anyone, just like for us, why we take a shower, why we put on the makeup, why we have the fake ones, and then sometimes that we go to the point that, what kind of favor that we can attracting a certain person that we have in mind. So
right.
that all of that become a creativity that, because of our desire, make us become a genius about how, not a pleasing personality.
Well,
but
it can become that, but I'm thinking, this is my thought,
yes.
I'm right with you up until the point where I just realized Napoleon Hill is saying there's one level we can go above. And that's when it becomes genius. When we recognize and are able to harness that energy to beyond being the human expression. What you just described as a female is, yes, those are the things I did in my grooming to attract particular men. And that is what we all have in common. Okay. And like Eric says, he directs it in.
What I'm trying to say is
the one level above, though, that's the this might be too much for me. Maybe I'm still grasping this. It's almost like this is something that's a common.
Yeah.
All right. It's common throughout all human nature. What we're describing. How can I take it one level above? How can I harness that and go one level above so that it really does become genius? It's truly directed. It is so that an outcome or result is beyond the common.
Oh, I agree with you totally. But how often?
Yeah, but
how often you see a person climb the mountain and stop at the middle of the slope? Because we push to our limits. Because that's who we are. We are the person that we get to where we needed to, and we see further, we will continue to go on. Because that is the spark. This is the beginning of, just like the Boy Scouts start to put all the, do all the stone and sparkle the fire. But again, see, we do not satisfy with that sparkle. We want the fire that roar, give us the heat, give us the beauty and the romantic of, sit by the fire in the moonless night.
Mm-hmm. So how do we do that?
No, see, that's why I think that just because our desire, whether that it is in the desire for another opposite side, or the person that you be with, or you want to be with, or anything at all, it's the desire that is we have in our mind, that's the one we will pursue.
Okay, so it goes back to the original desire of what I want to build and who the person I want to become. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
Okay. So we go back to the beginning of when I defined that this is my vision, this is where I'm going to go, this is my definite purpose, this is what I'm working towards. And when I am focused on, okay, Eric, yes, that's what I took you to mean, Eric. Yes. No, honestly, that's what I took it to mean was that sexual energy, because we all have it, and it's the expression that matters. And what I'm trying to understand is taking that one piece of who I am to see if I'm directing it towards my ultimate goal. I think that's where I'm trying to get to, is just a little internal examination here is, am I harnessing it? Am I using that to raise me, raise those vibrations, to get my thought, my motivation a little higher? And I'm not sure. I'm not sure, because I'm still, these are pieces and parts, right? That's the pieces and parts of who I am, of who you are. And I'm trying to look at one piece. And while I can identify other pieces, this one and a few others are a little more difficult. That's all.
So let's go back to what I said initially about Mr. Berg and you. For him to attract the person with your caliber, he have to be what he think that what is attracting to you, and then he will really pursuing that, not just on that. All the entire of the whole him. I mean, the whole person that who he
figured
is.
out. He figured out that he was going to have to speak a little differently and act a little differently. It wasn't a big change, but it was enough that he worked on it.
Yeah. Let's say if you are the person going, you guys very much different according to you, but he going to his own way, and then because he continue to, because into any relationship with your partner or somebody you married to, if somebody keep on growing and other persons stop growing, then create a gap. And I mean, that's the desire to make it work, and he will have to side up with you.
Right.
That's the way I see it.
Way too. Since we've been married, I've done the same. He's been way up here, and I've had to try to catch up.
So I want to make one more point, and I will jump out and let somebody jump in. When people that of the discussion here, when people are talking about marriage, and somebody said, "Oh, when you get into the marriage, you have to be 50-50." It is so yesteryear. The marriage, you have to go in there, you have to give 100% of you. And then that, hopefully that because of you attract the person going to the marriage, want to give 100% of them.
Yeah, that's because something he and I have always said.
It's so yesteryear.
Yeah, I don't know who said 50-50. Hi, Robert. Welcome. Okay, so hopefully it's not me freezing. Nope, I'm seeing movement on the screen. There we go. You froze a moment there, Robert.
Oh, I did. Okay. Well, I appreciate your show, and
thank you.
I appreciate this topic as well, because the topic itself has such merit in a way that, as a man, you're right. That sexual experience of and drive there's
Oh, nuts.
enhance the ability.
Poor internet signal, Robert.
Yeah. So inside of me, it made a huge difference.
Oh, what a shame. I'm not able to, you are so in and out. We're losing your message, Robert. Can you go someplace with a better signal? Because we're reading that there's poor internet signal where you currently are. I'll take a moment to welcome Ron, Darwin, Jasmine, Adam, Stephen. Glad you could join us this morning. And hopefully Robert will try again. Yeah, the channeling of that energy and that focus. Yeah, call on Eric. Eric, you're at the gym, I know. Put down that 275 pounds, because I know you're almost to 300 now. He's one more, you want to bench what, 300? So we're going to, or was it 250? I don't know. It was a heck of a lot more than what I weigh, and that impresses the bejeebies out of me. 300.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Oh, I believe he can do it. I believe he can do it. All right. So the seat is open, and we can, discuss what was read. And I think one of the things is that the emotion of sex contains the secret of creative ability. And we all know and can see unrestrained physical expression, if you will, and especially in my husband and I had this conversation. He over the weekend dealing with funeral and things like that. There's a 13-year-old boy let loose in the crowd. Oh. Yeah, they're the funniest things in the world. I'm sorry, boys, but you are. So it is literally, and it's just 13-year-old girls. They're just a little more, they're different, right? So you have all of that energy and that drive, and it's unrestrained. There's no discipline. This is what's coming through in my mind. The emotion of sex does. Yes, you're welcome, Robert. Thank you. You're welcome to try again, to come on. But watching them, and I was a substitute teacher for 7th graders, and it was ping, bing, 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 they're just all over the place. And it was fascinating to watch because it truly is undisciplined physical expression. And it's all that drive and energy. And of course, it's all the hormones, and it's based on the sex. So I'm taking that. I just had that vision. And as we learn the discipline and self-control and to channel that energy elsewhere, then we can make better use of it. And then Napoleon Hill's saying one more level above that, just one more level that energy and drive can take me, that I'm not sure I've gotten yet. I'm not sure I'm there yet. But that's just another thought I had. What do you think, Ha?
No, I agree with him on that, and like I mentioned, we are the creature of we are the drive, very driven. I don't think that when we get into some level we stop there, because that we will using that energy, that desire will push us into go further, and. People are kind of shy away from or dismiss the concept of the sexuals have a lot of power behind that. Because you stop at 185, but if you read further, you will see that he talking about men at 30 some 40 some years old when they more know
as they grow up.
Yeah, that's where they suck to. He talking about Abraham, that at that time behind the woman that he is the president that we have.
Yeah, and that was the interesting thing. Behind every great man is a woman. How often have we heard that statement? And it actually makes sense when we look at those relationships that those men had with those women. Hi, Ian. Welcome.
Hi, Ian.
Hi there. Just checking, I've got a 3-second delay tonight for some reason.
Well, that's annoying on your side.
So yes, the sexual element's an interesting one. I think it is the source of much creativity in our lives. And as you're pointing out, Charlene, even though it's not as obvious in the text as it might appear, that's a layer above that. If we can apply what's regular in that realm, in the sexual realm, and realise that we are more than that, and I come back to the animal kingdom. Mm-hmm. It is such a basic instinct there that thought tends to be driven by drivers like food, survival, and thriving as a population. And we, humans, have been given a little more to be able to be influencers of our environment, not just influenced by our environment. And if we're going to be influencers of our environment, influencers of our business and of our activities and the leading of mankind, it just makes sense that we need to be more than that. We need to be people who can leverage that creative instinct far more. And I guess experience I've had is that those who are, let's just say, able to explore and comfortably explore that sexual experience, they're generally able to be more open to more creative ideas. In fact, if you look at the sexual community and Blab and Periscope and those things have introduced me to some people who actually study this stuff, because you normally wouldn't look at it. But I wouldn't normally look at it. But those who say so are looking at the science behind it and going, those who are most creative are those who are thinking most. And I think it's that unleashing of our thinking that creates new businesses, new niches, new opportunities that we all should be on the lookout for. Because we aren't just an animal influenced by our environment. We are somebody who can drive our environment and even control our environment from time to time. And that's the opportunity that we have. And I think Napoleon's suggesting that we should harness.
I love the way you articulated that. And it brought to mind there's a statement that I read in this morning's reading where we're tapping into that other intelligence, that how may one communicate with sources of knowledge which are not available through ordinary rate of vibration of thought? And I think you just articulated that we, and part of the human experience, are able to do it. We're able to tap into or communicate with sources of knowledge that aren't readily available, but because we're human, we can. And you've been able to articulate what was all at work for me, and I appreciate that. Thank you. Yes, that's where I was thinking. Between you and Haw, I'm getting there.
No, the terminology in use it that unleash, I cannot say that word, unleashed.
Unleashed.
Unleashed. The genius in the man or the woman, for that matter. And yes, that is the level because the desire, that awakening the genius in them, in us. Because, again, from my initial statement was, Nicholson said, because of you, I want to be a better man. Mm-hmm. And, because that said it all, because that's driven, to be there, to be a better man.
We're inspired by the other, is what you're saying. I'm inspired by my husband to be more. And it's a combination of needs that are there for me to be more, but I want to be more. And then when we share our thoughts and he's supporting me and encouraging me, I'm inspired to be more. So it's additional inspiration there that helps with my internal motivation. Okay, so I can see that. I'm getting there. I'm getting there, people. But I like what Ian said about that, when we seek to learn, when we seek to know more, which is the thinking, I believe. Thinkers can be creative, and it's because we who think, and I've been accused of being a thinker, tend to, oh yeah, are you surprised by that? Tend to want to know more. We tend to ask questions. I want to know more. I don't have to agree with what you're putting out to me. I don't have to understand it at first, but I want to understand it. And if I continue to hit I'm not getting it, that's okay. I'm at least open to trying. And I make my own decisions of what works for me and my value system, what aligns with me. And there's much that I've learned about this world and other people that don't align with me. Therefore, I don't hang around them. They're not around me. So I'm not the advocate of open the mind and let anything, this is woo-woo to me, open the mind and let anything that happens be okay because it's all one in the universe. And sorry, I fight back. So having said that, it's as a thinker, I can sit in interesting conversations that others find very, very disturbing. I mean, I've been in scientific conversations where theory was presented for debate of, the value of abortion, and I'm pro-life, the value of abortion in the world, the value of reducing population, the value of terrain, complete terrain change, But again, whether I agreed or not, it was an exercise in trying to see something different and putting out points of view. So that's where I'm coming from, and I love the way you put it, Ian. Thank you.
That's cool. And the question I got thrown today that wasn't directly at me but made my brain go into overload was the question of, do monkeys ask the same questions? And I think that is a philosophy that's valuable. Not that's right or wrong, but is there that layer of questioning above that we've been entrusted with that we can then observe? I noticed the chat there from 3EO Radio. Can we accept the answers that Peter brings to us?
That is a big
it's one thing to
statement.
ask the question, it's another to deal with the answer.
Yes, that is huge. That is huge, and that's an outstanding statement. And that's why it can be difficult to be a thinker, to be an asker, to be a seeker of information and knowledge, is because sometimes the answers are so disconcerting and alarming that honestly, I can't. It's too much. Like, Ian, when you're posed a question that's mind-blowing or that just so overloads my capability of understanding, just got to walk away for a minute, and I don't know that I'll come back to it. It depends on the level of conversation and discussion. But I think it's also part of what Napoleon Hill is telling us, is that by having all these other things, like Ha brought me back to the point that it's all about the desire for what I'm going for. I want to be a better me, and I want to make more money while I'm being a better me, basically. And the other principles that come into play with faith and persistence and everything else. And we have this added energy that can be directed. All right, we got a halogen light bulb moment for Charlene. I think I got it. I can take that energy to take myself one level above so that I can think differently about how I'm approaching my business and be that much better at it, which is part of what I did when I made the changes last year. Because I was at a point where I was receptive to opportunities. I could see them now, and I can see them now because they align. But I became much more focused and moments of brilliance, if you will, moments of sparks of creativity that hit. Thank you, Ian.
I hope and pray for anyone that listened to our conversation today, that they have the pleasure of knowing that they have the right partner, because if the person like your husband or mine, they are in the front row, cheer you out, and then cheer you up, and they are the back row, they will have your back. And because when with all the supporting, you will think that, okay, you can almost done everything or do anything and accomplish anything, because of sometimes that we questioning ourselves. But if somebody who being there and keep on telling us that we can do it, and the support system is mean everything. And so that's all I have to contribute this morning. But
fantastic contribution. Fantastic. I love that. And it's so true. It's so much easier when I have somebody who's cheerleading me on. I've told the story too many times here. It's just God's honest truth. I wouldn't be here and doing what I'm doing if it weren't for my husband. I'd be stuck in a cubicle farm someplace and being miserable and angry and, doing the prairie dog and trying to get people to come on, people. Incompetence isn't a requirement, nor is it acceptable.
It's fair to say that the Charlene we see today is the Charlene married to Mr. Berg. If you marry to somebody else, you can be a different Charlene.
Oh, it's fair to say.
Okay.
I married the right guy. There's no doubt about it.
See, when he see you, he want to woo you. He do everything he needed to do, right?
Yep.
So that is the power of love and the desire.
And I say I married the right guy because he still does that. He still brings me flowers just because. Not bad after 25 years, right?
Yeah, this 20 years. This 27 will be my 40 years.
Yes, and you have your 40.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, we need to connect on Blab, all four of us or something. Just to, have the guys behind us to wave.
Okay, so I must go now. So
right.
I will we'll see you tomorrow. And take good care. And thank you.
Okay. Yeah. You too, You too. What a doll. Ian, that's 14 here. We can talk about Australian math and U.S. math. No. we can talk about that later. We'll do a different blab on that. Anyway, all right. Anybody want to join in the conversation with me and Ian? Talking about focusing that energy so that we can tap into a source of knowledge beyond what we're tapping into right now. Can we get those?
I think that's the really valid point of this whole chapter. It's not about sex per se. It's really about generating a different source of inspiration. And we all need to do that at some time. It's taking input from outside. It's taking energy that is untapped and applying it in a different circumstance than what we normally would. Because if you think of it, most business owners, they are tradesmen who end up owning the business. And in a way, it's that change of creativity that shifts them from being creative at the craft to being creative in business. And that means a whole competitive effort, because sex is competitive. It takes a whole effort around driving for longer term relationships, as sex is designed to do, to last with more purpose. And it also takes an inspiration for procreation, not of children necessarily, but in business, about entities and products and capabilities that would otherwise be unforeseen. So you're really untapping that sexual energy in a different business energy. And I think that's the key message behind the story of sex in that chapter. It's bring all of you to create more. And that's what sex does, and that's what business owners should do.
I like that. Okay, So, having said that, another part of the reading was the 10 mind stimuli, the first one being the desire for sex expression, but then moving through into love, which was different than sexual expression, we know, and the burning desire for the outward, which is fame, power, money, and what have you. Okay, who are you talking to? What are you... All right, I've lost your audio. You're getting goofy, aren't you?
I'm being playful.
Okay. Friendships, Mastermind Alliance. So really what it's saying is that what you were saying, which is bring all of us to the game. Bring all of who I am to the game. I don't have to, that doesn't mean I have to share all the details of who I am with everybody, but I have to bring who I am. Right?
That's right. All those things on that list are around growing oneself, being bigger than you are yourself. So allowing new ideas to come in. Like sexual expression is one we've covered to death in the last 45 minutes.
Right.
But love is one which is dynamic. Mm-hmm. The desire for fame, power, and financial gain is being more than what you are. Music is creative by design. Friendship.
Well, but whether you're making music, or listening, it is powerful.
Absolutely.
Music is power. You can move a group of people to do anything you want if you've got the right music.
There's two things.
I've argued with people actually over this and had to show them the truth of it. Literally, you can move people to do things with music.
Yeah, I've found it really powerful in moving people through time. Taking them to a particular location is obvious. It's one of the key things. Whenever you hear a song, you can almost get back to the first time you heard it. If you're clued into when music was. My son suffers with that a bit because I sing songs that are way outside his time zone, like 20 years ago, 30 years ago. But generally, it's a time factor. But it's also an emotional anchor.
Absolutely.
And that's huge.
Good or bad. I'm just going to throw it out there just in case anybody thinks that I'm nuts for even saying it. Why would any team of people move forth to hurt other people if they didn't have the routine preparatory music, chants, or cadence that gets them into a state that they're going to be able to move forward to do something. And it's now I can go into the scientific part of it when it comes to the beats per minute in music. Why most of us who are older hate punk rock. It's because it's got triple to quadruple the beats per minute that the music you and I grew up with and are familiar with when punk hit the scene. People and kids and young adults became more violent. And it's because, anyway, so yeah, that's the kind of stuff I do. Okay,
State management.
Exactly. Exactly. Whether your physical expression of sex or you take that desire for sex and focus it into a creative endeavor of some sort, you can put yourself in a different state. Beautiful. I got Eli and Ian and Ha. Whew, all right. It's all coming together for me, where I believe I can articulate it one day. Robert Evangelos, welcome. Yes, I'm all for that, Eli. Yes. So those outside influences, but that internal influence of what we're talking about, of being able to tap into that other knowledge, that outside knowledge. Great stuff. All right. Before we close this down for the recording, Ian, do you have the link for our blab for at 10 o'clock? Ian and I are co-hosting a blab called Power of Mastermind. groups? Are you in one? Do you have questions? I want to talk about that. We both are familiar enough with them in a variety of ways to be able to help guide people and answer questions and what have you. So, put that in the chat box. Anybody else have any final comments that you'd like to make about what we've been talking about? I will keep the room open for about 30 minutes so we can have general chat or continue chatting about what we've been talking about. But if you have a comment that you want recorded, whether you come on or not, call in to the seat or not. Thank you. I appreciate. We got a good job, guys. Appreciate the comments on the side.
What I liked in that section we just referred to around the stimuli which we respond to is the mutual suffering one. And one of the things I do in my business stuff is around the public speaking world. And it is fascinating that one of the most connective experiences you can share when speaking is that of adversity. And it builds a huge bridge between you and your audience and can generate major change. And usually it's the trigger, or at least the supporting rationale for why you go into business. It is the catalyst for so much change in people's lives. And I think that's an understated factor around how creativity forms. Because it's when we're under the pump, when we're up against the wall, when we're under pressure, that we've got to find a solution to move forward. And that's one that just strikes me as one which is understated in that list, because it's where creativity is, fight or flight results in decisions that you wouldn't normally make. And I think all of us sometimes need to think what could go wrong, and that will drive us forward.
Love that. Thank you, Ian. Excellent words to end our recording on. So I want to thank everybody who's joined me in the live stream and everybody who's joined in the comment area. This is Charlene Burke with Grow Because You Know. That's www.growbecauseyouknow.com. Let's move forward with the day on purpose, with purpose, to grow our hearts, grow our minds, and grow our businesses. Until next